Africa Foundation, which is executing and realizing the Africa initiative of the German government. And it has to do something with this scaling up from development aid to development cooperation, now to partnerships. Could be interesting aspects for the Iranian diaspora. Yes, you see here capacity building program for ministries of the ACP countries. The ACP countries means African, Caribbean, Pacific group of states, which are exposed a lot to migration and development. And I'm very happy for your introduction into this thematic, because it's very much linked, of course, to migration and development. So, try to read. The objectives I want to present to you is strength of this program is strengthening the knowledge of networking and policy making. It's very much important to understand for you who are starting to act and to plan activities, and maybe you have your main goals to improve on those aspects. It's a political debate you have to always bear in mind. You have to act as part of the public policy community, because you want to change something. So you have directly see the whole venture into a kind of political perspective. Sorry. Second is to mobilize and enabling diaspora development practitioners for the development of their countries of origin. I think the most used term was always building bridges. Diaspora is building bridges. But it's not only to build the bridge, it's to walk over it and to do something on the other bottom, on the other end. And therefore, of course, the diaspora is very, very good, in a very good position to do so. Third is influencing and advising migration and development policymakers in host countries, because there is, we as migrants, let's say, in the forefront, and I think my friend and brother Estefano Samuel will support, and also Azadin Maroufi, that there's a lot of lacking in knowledge, not only on the intercultural competences of the German, let's say, government authorities, because they are those who are drafting programs. Most of the time they are lacking the inclusion of experts from the diaspora to start programs, building programs from the bottom, from the beginning on, so they will not fail. The friend of us who is leading a development organization, I think it's the EED, the Evangelic Development Organization of Germany. He's also a professor, and in his course once he was inviting students from Africa and students from Germany. And at the end he asked to all of them to answer one question. Do you think that development was of success or not? The development support, the development aid. And it was 50-50. All Africans said, no, we don't think that development aid and all this stuff was helping us. The Germans said, yes, it changed something, it was positive. So you see, to close these gaps, diaspora need to sit on the table, work out programs and advise those who are drafting programs for the future. But on the other end, there are also the policy and decision makers in the host countries. I know from many friends and colleagues I studied with from the Iranian diaspora, I was studying in Düsseldorf, that politics is a hot issue. But if it comes to topics like brain drain, development, you have to forget those political issues to start to establish a debate. When you will see it later, traveling in 2013 through the whole world. I mean, I was in Papua New Guinea, East Timor, Guyana, Lesotho. I was always meeting policy makers from the middle level of ministries who had an incredible challenge and obstacle. They didn't know about how to interact with the diaspora. They didn't know how to talk to you. But they had a task to fulfill, to establish programs to move and to use this migration development nexus. Because since '94, when I think in the 90s, the early 90s, the survey and the research of the World Bank bring out that remittances, financial remittances, was up to 3 times higher than official development aid. It changed the whole debate. In follow-up, it changed also the attitude of policy makers. They had to learn that some countries, mentioned by our former presenter, made it through migration. And today, in this globalized world where we are exposed to global shocks like the global financial crisis and economic crisis, we have to use all our muscles. And some countries really prove that the diaspora can be one of the strongest ones. So institutions in the host countries, however the situation is, one day you have to start to interact with them, to sit down at the table and to discuss only about how you could establish programs inclusively also for the diaspora. Yes, I will jump over it and come to some other aspects just to see what we did. As I said, these four pictures, you see those ministry agents from different countries. From Kenya, for instance, development is a key factor of their whole national strategy. And they had this, worked out this program, Vision 2030, Kenyan Vision 2030. And when I was appointed to do this workshop for the Kenyan government, I found out, I googled, I just checked the whole program, and I didn't find the term diaspora, and I did not find the term migration. However, it was an excellent strategy paper for the future 20 years, but totally neglecting the diaspora and the migration development nexus aspect. Why? Because there was a huge gap between the diaspora and the policymakers in the country. Kenya is one of the countries which is benefiting most of its diaspora remittances. Up to 5% from the GDP is contributed by the migrants. It's more than, it's billions of dollars, okay? But still, they're not part of the policy-making process. I have no figures about Iranian diaspora remitting, but I'm quite sure it's considerable. And we don't not forget the knowledge transfer, which is maybe, we cannot calculate it, but it's way more have a bigger impact on development. Yeah? All right, all those countries were so open, and this is what I want to share with you. After the workshops, all countries agreed on continuing in reaching out to the diaspora to change their development strategy. So I did not talk to the high level responsibles of the government, but to those who are doing the work. And therefore, it's very important that the diaspora at itself is organized. I'm sure this is a very well approach here. You're starting, as Sanas told me, to be organized, to discuss how you can interact and communicate with all stakeholders to move on forward on those debates. Otherwise, one day you have to make your decisions, your strategies sustainable. You have to talk to policy and decision makers in your country of origin. So I will continue. Sanas showed me that I may have only 5 minutes left. Okay. So okay. Let me come back to focus more on what you can do here in Germany. During my 5 years work as coordinator for migration and development in North Rhine-Westphalia, I learned a lot. There's a saying, think global and act local. This is true, but it's also true the other way around. Think local and act global. It's vice versa. But first, it's very much important to network with the German civil society. To step out of the corner, because all our communities are sitting in a kind of corner and forgetting that just around yourself you may find partners which can boost you. And this strategy was approached was applied by the African diaspora in North Rhine-Westphalia, so they become strong and stronger. Estefano Samuel is one best practice example. The Ethiopian diaspora is a huge one, but now they're way better organized than before. And one of their strategies is to network with the civil society in Germany.